What if I told you that every dollar in your wallet exists only because someone, somewhere, went into debt to create it? That the house you live in, the job you work, the retirement you're saving for, all of it depends on a system that would collapse tomorrow if people stopped borrowing money they can't repay. This isn't some conspiracy theory whispered in dark corners. This is the operating system of the modern world. And the most terrifying part? Everyone in charge knows it. They just pray you never figure it out. Let me tell you a story about a man named Charles Ponzi. Boston, 1920. Ponzi was a small-time con artist with a big-time dream. He discovered he could buy postal reply coupons in Italy for pennies and redeem them in America for dollars. Legal arbitrage. But here's where genius turned to madness. Instead of actually doing the trades, Ponzi just used new investors' money to pay the old ones. 50% returns in 90 days. Word spread like wildfire. Money poured in. $15 million in 8 months, when the average American made $1,200 a year. Ponzi lived like a king. Mansion in Lexington, 20-room house, gold-handled walking stick. But the math was merciless. To pay the first 1,000 investors, he needed 10,000 more. To pay them, he needed 100,000. The pyramid grew until there weren't enough people left in Boston to recruit. On August 11, 1920, it all came crashing down. Ponzi went to prison. Thousands lost everything. But here's what should keep you up at night. Ponzi's scheme was small potatoes compared to what happened next. Because after World War II, the entire global economy adopted Ponzi's blueprint. They just gave it respectable names: fractional reserve banking, fiat currency, sovereign debt. Let me show you how deep this rabbit hole goes. Picture this. You walk into a bank and deposit $1,000. You think that money sits in a vault with your name on it. Wrong. The bank keeps maybe $50 and lends $950. That loan becomes a deposit in another bank, which keeps $50 and lends $900. Round and round it goes, until your original $1,000 has become $10,000 in the system. Money created from nothing. Pure magic. Until everyone wants their cash back at the same time. That's what happened in 1929. Banks had pyramided deposits into oblivion. When farmers in Oklahoma couldn't pay their loans, the dominoes started falling. Banks failed. Savings vanished. By 1933, unemployment hit 25%. Breadlines stretched for blocks. The pyramid had collapsed, and millions were crushed beneath it. So what did we learn? Nothing. We just built a bigger pyramid. In 1944, while bombs still fell on Europe, economists met at a resort in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. They designed a new world order. The dollar would be backed by gold. Other currencies backed by dollars. A pyramid, but with golden foundations. It worked beautifully, until it didn't. By 1971, America had printed far more dollars than it had gold. Foreign governments started demanding metal for paper. Fort Knox was bleeding. On August 15th, Richard Nixon went on television and changed the world with one sentence. "I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold." Temporarily became forever. Money became pure faith, and the pyramid scheme went global. Think I'm exaggerating? Let's talk about your pension. You pay in today, expecting payments in 30 years. But that money isn't sitting in an account. It's being paid to current retirees. Your future depends entirely on younger workers paying in when you retire. Now look at the birth rates. Japan, 1.3 children per woman. Italy, 1.2. South Korea, 0.8. The pyramid base is shrinking while the top gets heavier. The math doesn't work. It can't work. But admitting that would cause panic, so they pretend everything's fine. Or take housing. A house is shelter, right? Wrong. It's a financial instrument. Prices don't rise because houses get better. They rise because banks lend more money. Buyers borrow more, and everyone pretends the music will never stop. In 2008, it stopped. Subprime mortgages were the new recruits at the pyramid's base. When they couldn't pay, the whole structure shook. Lehman Brothers, a 158-year-old investment bank, vaporized overnight. But here's where it gets truly insane. Instead of letting the pyramid fall, the Federal Reserve printed $4 trillion out of thin air. They called it quantitative easing, a fancy name for creating money from nothing. They bought the bad debts, propped up the banks, and rebuilt the pyramid bigger than before. The criminals got bonuses. You got the bill through inflation. And inflation, that's the pyramid's secret tax. When governments create money faster than the economy creates value, prices rise. Your savings shrink. Your wages buy less. It's not an accident. It's how they keep the scheme running. They're stealing your future to pay for their present. The numbers are staggering. Global debt, over $300 trillion. That's 3 times what the entire world produces in a year. Every man, woman, and child on Earth owes $40,000 before they're even born. In America, the national debt doubles every 8 years like clockwork. The interest payments alone could fund small countries. But they keep borrowing, because stopping means the pyramid collapses. Japan shows where this leads. In the 1980s, Tokyo real estate was valued higher than all of California. The Imperial Palace grounds were worth more than Canada. Then reality hit. The bubble burst. Property prices fell 90%. The stock market crashed. 30 years later, they're still recovering. An entire generation lost in the rubble of a fallen pyramid. But Japan just printed more money. Negative interest rates, paying people to borrow, buying their own government bonds, building bridges to nowhere to create jobs. The pyramid must grow, even if it makes no sense. Cryptocurrencies? Same story, different costume. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin. They only have value if someone else pays more tomorrow. Early adopters get rich selling to latecomers. The greater fool theory in digital form. When Elon Musk tweets, fortunes shift. When China bans mining, billions vanish. It's Ponzi's ghost in the machine. Even the stock market runs on pyramid logic. Companies don't need profits anymore. They need stories. Tesla's worth more than every other car company combined, selling a fraction of the vehicles. GameStop went from $4 to $400 on Reddit rumors. The value isn't real. It's just the next layer of the pyramid believing harder than the last. But the biggest pyramid? Government itself. Social Security, Medicare, military pensions. They're all pay-as-you-go. Current workers funding current retirees. When Franklin Roosevelt signed Social Security in 1935, there were 40 workers per retiree. Today, 2 and falling. The pyramid is inverting. The math is screaming. But politicians promise more benefits, not less, because truth doesn't win elections. Wars keep the pyramid growing. Every conflict needs financing. Bonds sold, money printed, debt expanded. World War I cost America $30 billion, half the GDP. World War II, $300 billion. Vietnam, $160 billion. Iraq and Afghanistan, $2 trillion and counting. Each war adds layers to the pyramid. Each veteran's benefit, another promise we can't keep. Central banks are the pyramid's high priests. The Federal Reserve, European Central Bank, Bank of Japan. They create money with keystrokes. No gold, no silver, just digits on screens. When COVID hit, they created more money in months than existed in all human history. Stocks soared while businesses died. Billionaires doubled their wealth while workers lost jobs. The pyramid's top got fatter while its base crumbled. This is why they fear deflation more than death. Deflation means debts get harder to pay. The pyramid stops growing. In the 1930s, deflation turned recession into depression. Prices fell. Debts couldn't be paid. Banks failed. The pyramid collapsed floor by floor. So now they choose inflation instead, slowly stealing from savers to keep debtors afloat. The psychology is brilliant. They make you complicit. Your 401k depends on stocks rising. Your home equity depends on prices inflating. Your job depends on companies borrowing to expand. You're not just in the pyramid, you're holding it up. And if you stop believing, if you stop participating, your own wealth evaporates first. But some saw it coming. In 2008, a few traders bet against the housing pyramid. They studied the mortgages, saw the fraud, did the math. While everyone else partied, they prepared for collapse. When it came, they made billions. The movie The Big Short made them heroes. But here's what the movie didn't show. They didn't stop the pyramid. They just profited from one floor collapsing while the government built 10 more above it. So what's the end game? History shows only two exits from a debt pyramid: default or debasement. Default means admitting the debts can't be paid. Depression, chaos, revolution. Debasement means printing money until the debts become worthless. Weimar Germany, Zimbabwe, Venezuela. Either way, someone loses everything. The only question is who. The smart money knows this. Why do you think billionaires buy farmland, gold, art? They're converting pyramid paper into real assets. They're preparing for the collapse they know is coming. Meanwhile, they tell you to keep contributing to your 401k, keep paying your mortgage, keep believing in the system. But knowledge is power. Once you see the pyramid, you can't unsee it. You start noticing the patterns. Every crisis brings more debt. Every rescue makes the next crisis worse. Every solution is just another layer on the pyramid. The 2008 crisis was solved with money printing. The 2020 crisis was solved with more money printing. What happens when printing stops working? The Roman Empire debased its currency for centuries, mixing less silver into coins each generation. It worked until it didn't. The denarius went from pure silver to worthless metal. The empire fell. The Dark Ages began. Pyramids always fall. The only variable is timing. So what do? First, understand you're in a game where the rules are rigged. The house always wins because the house can print money. Second, diversify out of their system. Own things that can't be printed: skills, relationships, real assets. Third, stay liquid enough to survive the tremors. Every pyramid shakes before it falls. Most importantly, stop believing their lies. Growth forever is impossible on a finite planet. Debt without limit is fantasy. Money from nothing is magic thinking. The pyramid scheme of the global economy will end the way all pyramids end, with those at the bottom crushed by the weight of those above. But here's the twist. Knowing this gives you power. While others chase yields in a rigged game, you can build real wealth outside their system. While others leverage themselves to the hilt, you can stay solvent. While others believe in the pyramid, you can prepare for its fall. The question isn't whether the global pyramid scheme will collapse. History, math, and human nature guarantee it will. The question is whether you'll be standing on solid ground when it does, or buried in the rubble with everyone else who confused a pyramid for a foundation. The clock is ticking. The pyramid is wobbling, and those who see it clearly will be the ones who survive its fall.